It's Wednesday, January the 10th. I haven't done a fishing report since right before Christmas, but I have been out fishing. Looks like we got some really cold weather coming in, so if you want to get out fishing, you probably better do it tomorrow, because after tomorrow, it looks like it's going to be in the single digits. But the lake level right now, we got quite a little bit of rain last few days. Didn't seem like it raised the lake level. It's right at about 910, which is a little over 910 and 1 inch, but that's about 5 feet below normal winter pool. And the water temperature when I was out Sunday, I was in the mid-James, it seemed to be, 46 to 48 degrees. Several days ago, right after the first, I fished in the Kimberling City to Baxter, probably from about Cow Creek to Big Creek. And the water temperature up there was, 50, 51 degrees. Before I get into what I was catching them on, I was talking to Ray at Extreme Outdoors, and she wanted me to let you know that the annual tackle swap meet at Extreme Outdoors is going to be February the 24th. Excuse me. In the years past, they've sold just about every table they've had. So if you're thinking of renting a table, you want to get a hold of her and get one reserved. It really fills up good, and there's a lot of good bargains to be had there. So mark that down on your calendar, February the 24th at Extreme Outdoors. But, when I went out fishing, I was kind of tired of chasing them deep fish out in the middle of nowhere, fishing, 30 to 80 foot deep. So I concentrated on shallow fish. We had, a couple trips. And the one day we had 7 keepers, and it was a slow bite, but we just had to stay with it. But, quality was really good. Smallest fish we had was probably around 3 pounds, and we had a couple in the 5 pound range. Now, we caught a few on a rock crawler, a natural brown craw, caught some on a stick bait, and a little tiny finesse jig, and we kind of mixed it up through a little bit of everything. I think the only thing I caught 2 fish on was the little finesse jig. But it seemed like the crankbait fish, jerkbait fish were all on bluff ends. Seemed like I had to be setting almost in the channel in that 15 to 25 feet where I could cast up to about 8 or 10 feet, and they were right up on top of the point right before it rolls off. And now the smallmouth, the jig fish, where's my little jig here? Caught them on a little pee-wee football jig, a little 5/16 ounce, and I was just throwing crawdad color, and I've got a little Strike King Ned craw, a real little craw on it. And usually I like to throw this on 12 pound braided plasma sunline with an 8 pound Sun FC Sniper fluorocarbon leader. I like the spinning rod with the small jig, especially when the bite is really slow and subtle like this. I feel like I can, feel a lot better than I can with the bait caster. Now, a lot of the smallmouth, they weren't that deep. They were probably 12 to 18 feet deep, and it seemed like they were on secondary points, flat gravel, no brush or anything to speak of, just, football-sized rock. And they were, dead on the bottom. Now, the better fish we caught that day, the 2 5-pounders we had were on boat docks and slips, and we caught one really nice one on a Texas rig missile D-bomb with a 5/16 ounce weight, and I'm throwing on 12 pound line, this and my little finesse jig. The other one, because it's a 5 fish 7/16 PBJ finesse jig. And normally I throw a lot heavier line, but when the water's this cold and the bite is real hard to pick up on, I'll downsize down to 12 pounds. Sometimes I'll even go to 10. It seems like you can feel them subtle bites a little bit better. It's a little dangerous. A lot of the places I'm putting the jig, it's way back in the stalls, over lifts, under boats. But the fish weren't that deep. They were probably 8 to 12 feet deep. And it was the docks about 2/3 of the way back into creeks. Now, with everything that we did that day, it was hard to get a solid pattern. Like once we started getting bit on the crankbait, we couldn't just go to every bluff end and catch a fish. it seemed like we'd get, you know, 1 or 2 on a bluff end, then fish 3 or 4, nothing else. So that's how we got to throwing, flipping the docks and fishing for smallmouth on some of the gravel. We just kind of had to, whatever came up to us on a bank, we changed lure presentation and, you know, fished what basically was in front of us. But for the most part, the fish were extremely shallow. Sunday, I went out to catch crappie, and I could find them all over the place. It was just out fun fishing. I could get them to follow my bait. I tried different colors, different size, a lot of little Bobby Garland swimming minnows, but my patience was kind of short with that. So I went back to the bass fishing, and it seemed like all my fish up here in the river were on bluff ends again, and I caught them on a Alabama rig and also a jig. But it seemed like it was kind of the same deal how I caught them a few days prior, you know, down lake. It was setting out in the channel, throwing right up on the top of the point, and these were a little bit deeper. They were about 15 to 20 feet on the sides of the slope coming down. And I also caught some on and I think a guy could throw a football jig, but I threw the little peewee jig because I had it tied on from the other day. Then I got on some straight up and down bluffs, some channel swings, and if I could key on rock slides, or, you know, not the vertical straight rock, but any place where there was broken rock with a little bit of timber, seemed like there were fish there on the little peewee jig in about 12 to 18 foot of water. And I caught a mixed bag. You know, they were mainly mainly Kentuckies and largemouths on the bluffs up in the river. I think I had 1 smallmouth, but majority of the fish were keepers, but, you know, they were in that 2.5 to 2 3/4 pound range. So I think that's something that's going to hold up for a while. You know, especially when it gets real cold like this, later in the day, them rocks will warm up and then fish will move a little higher up in the water column on them bluff ends. So probably not going to do, you guys ain't going to do much fishing this weekend with the way it's going to be. I think the Empire Fairgrounds got a boat show going on this weekend. It'll be a good time to go out and check out some tackle and boats and RVs. So till next week, good luck, good fishing.